Good afternoon, football fans, Arsenal fans, sadly Spurs fans. Arsenal versus Spurs on Sunday. Now, we might as well preview the game. Obviously, I'm doing all of this before Arsenal have actually even played in the Europa League, but it shouldn't matter too much. I can't speak for anyone, but I'm a North London boy. I actually live 2 minutes, 5 minutes, however you want to classify it, away from the Spurs stadium. They're actually making some good progress. But war is in the air, man. Some of my man them were constantly getting at each other all week. In the weeks in the run up to this, this week, I definitely feel it in the air, man. People are obviously, it's gone from friendly banter to we kind of want to kill you lot on Sunday. We want to win. Like whoever loses this can't really survive. I'm gonna end up blocking all my man them and all my friends if we don't win. This is a game for obvious reasons. I mean, it splits your allegiances with your friends in your family. Like myself, like my niece is a Spurs fan, but as much as I love her, I want her to cry on Sunday because they lost. Like, we need to win. It's Arsenal versus Spurs. I don't need to tell. It doesn't matter if you support the two clubs. I don't need to tell you what rivalries mean. Of course, it's not the biggest rivalry in the world, but it's the biggest to me and to many Arsenal fans and Spurs fans and stuff like that. As an Arsenal fan, obviously, Spurs fans, I love you guys away from the rivalries, especially the ones in my comments, but it's been stressful, innit? There's no way around it. Arsenal versus Spurs, it used to, back in the primary days or even early secondary, you kind of thought Arsenal was going to win, or don't get it twisted, the occasional Spurs might cause an upset. It really, for me, things started changing when I can't really categorize it, but maybe around the period when Redknapp was there, when Bale and I think even Adebayor and Kabul and all of them ones there, when they were getting draws against us and beating us, that's when it got a bit stressful and Van der Vaart was cheating and them things. For me as well, probably the worst defeat I've ever lost to Spurs or seen Arsenal lose to Spurs. There's two. I can't remember if it was 2010 or 2011, but I was working at Spurs Stadium. I've told you a lot before. We sneaked off and went and watched the game. And second half, they were winning, and I think they took the lead in the second half, and we looked just demoralised. Only Jack Wilshere was trying. They looked defeated. I was in the Spurs end because obviously we used to know a steward, and she was quite nice. She would find us a seat. Obviously, we didn't pay for nothing in it, so you take what you're given. So I'm sitting around the Spurs fans. We're losing. I'm looking around. I'm looking at my boys on the pitch. I'm looking at the Spurs fans. It was just the worst feeling ever. And apart from that, I'd probably say, what was it, when Spurs beat us 5-1 or something in the Carling Cup, man. I mean, like I said, the man them that support Spurs, that are my friends, are cool. They were bantering me when we got to school. If you weren't cool and you had a Spurs shirt on or you had a Spurs hat on them things, we have to start fighting because there was nothing else really and truly, man. But it's good to see both North London clubs are enjoying a positive spell. If I'm honest with you, I think both are not playing to their potential. I think on one hand, we'll start with Spurs. On one hand, you have to give Spurs credit because I do think that questions need to be asked of Spurs in terms of winning trophies and actually, not necessarily they have to win it, but getting closer, because for the last couple of years we've heard they got a good squad, etc. They didn't buy any players, so considering they didn't buy any players and statistically they have one of the best starts to a Premier League campaign for themselves, you have to applaud them. They're grinding out victories. They won at Old Trafford. Obviously they lost to City and Liverpool, but they got a big result against Chelsea, so they're doing their thing. They're third in the table, 3 points ahead of us. They are, considering again they didn't buy any players, they're doing well. But I do think, again, similar to Arsenal, when you look at some of Spurs' games, you look at, I don't watch them religiously, of course, as much as Spurs fans, but this is my opinion. When I look at the victories against Palace, I look at Brighton, I look at games like Cardiff, I even look at Old Trafford when they beat United. United was sloppy and United didn't turn up, so that's nothing to do with Spurs. But even if you look at it going into half-time, Spurs could have been cut open. So I do think they're grinding out results, they're doing quite well, but when you look at certain results or you look at it, they're not really necessarily playing amazing. Even if you look at the Champions League, they've conceded some cheap goals as well, and the same goes for Arsenal. We can't, yeah, it's great, 16, 17 games unbeaten, but we can't keep a clean sheet. We can't lead in games in the first half of games. It's always a second half turnaround. And similar to what I said about Spurs, when you look at our results or you look beneath the fact that we've won 4-1 against Fulham or games like this or Cardiff, there's cause for concern to a degree. It's like papering over the cracks. So I think both sides are afforded a luxury to that, but that's for another day, innit? Spurs, I mean, there's one man when I hear Spurs. He's quickly joining the level of Drogba and Rooney for me in terms of players I fear as an Arsenal fan. Harry Kane. I mean, he is an Arsenal fan. Spurs fans, I've got to do it to you. And I love Kane. You've seen my vids. But I don't love him for 90 minutes times two a year against us. I'm scared of Kane, the movement Kane makes. Obviously, Dele Alli's always up for a game, especially a big game. I'm scared of the movement from their strikers and their attacking options, man. Spurs they've been playing a range of formations. We've seen 4-3-3. We've actually seen 4-2-2-2, if that even makes sense. We've seen 4-2-1-2. We've seen 4-2-3-1. We've seen 3 at the back. Many different systems. Pochettino's put his rubber stamp on the team and they understand what he wants to do. If I'm Spurs, I'm believing, for obvious reasons, they've beat Arsenal before, but I'm believing they can get a result against Arsenal. I'd be cause for concern or listen because it's a new manager and things like that. But if I'm Spurs, if I'm in the Spurs camp, or if I'm Pochettino, I'm sitting them down in the week up to the Chelsea game and saying, listen, boys, we're spoken of title challenges, we're praised to high heavens, we're also criticised. You lot say you want to win X, Y, Z. It's time to fight. We've got Chelsea. We don't like them boy there. Arsenal, we definitely don't like them boy there. And Inter Milan sandwiched in between. We've got to show to get out of the Champions League. We've got to show fight. We've got to show hunger, we've got to show determination, and we've got to be galvanised. And each and every one of them Spurs players did it against Chelsea. So I don't think they'll be complacent, but they'll keep momentum. Obviously, it's on the eve of the Inter Milan game. Playing Inter Milan's a different sort of game, and whatever happens, happens for them in that. But if they get out of that, they're going to be even more gassed, and then they're going to be hungry for Arsenal. They've got a winning formula against Arsenal. I mean, what? Harry Kane's got 6 in the last 7 or 7 in the last 8 or some mad stat like that against Arsenal. So they're on this. They've been on it in big games as well. Yes, they've lost against Liverpool and Manchester City. United at Old Trafford. When have we done United at Old Trafford in the Premier League? He ain't done that for a minute. Chelsea at home, from start to finish. Yes, Chelsea were poor, similar to United, not taking the chances in the first half. In fact, United started off better, but you get the point. Spurs take advantage of that. Spurs can only deal with what's ahead of them, so they should be fully on it. Like. I feel Spurs start off quite strongly in the opening stages of games. We clearly are not a first half side, so we're gonna have to really pattern up. If you look at the Bournemouth game, first 20 minutes, if that's Spurs go 2-1 ahead. You don't shoot yourself in the foot and make things harder for yourself. I beg my Arsenal players. You don't want to start off slow and then Spurs take the lead because they have better quality players than Bournemouth, and then it's a thing where it's 1-0 or 2-0 and we're then trying to claw at the game, and we're sitting here at the end of the game and saying, what if we did this, what if we did that? Defence, it doesn't matter if it's a back 3, back 5, back 4, have to switch on. Midfield, have to switch on. Eriksen, I wouldn't say he's underappreciated. I don't say he's underrated in a sense. People know he's got Billy, but he's underappreciated. He's got a lovely eye for a pass. We know this. Long range passing. He'll find Dele. He'll find Kane. We need to stop. We need to blank that out. Not allow them to. What goes underrated is his link up play down the right hand side, which would be our left. He's a decent player, and what's even more underrated is his work ethic defensively. They have better. It's debatable who's got the most technically better players. If we just looked at technical ability, who's got the most with that? But they have some. They definitely have more industrial players than us, but definitely more fighters collectively in that midfield. I look at the midfield and I see Torreira alone, and I see Dyer if he's gonna play there. If they're gonna go with Dyer behind Sissoko and Eriksen like you saw against Chelsea, or which happened at times you saw Dyer and Sissoko and Eriksen they're a pivot essentially, defensive pivot, and Eriksen would muck in to help and things like that, and Dele would actually drop deeper when he wasn't marking Jorginho. So they've got midfield is a key battle for me. Their wingers their fullbacks aren't quite Danny Rose and Walker, but they're central to their play. They're a threat from wide positions. You saw it against Chelsea. But I also think if we're going to have any chance of winning, we need to take advantage of their defensive positioning, because if it doesn't matter if it's from set pieces, whether that's dead ball set pieces like free kicks or corners, I do think Spurs have an issue marking. I also think their fullbacks have an inability to follow runners, and I also feel their fullbacks are consistently doubled up against. If you look at the game against Manchester City, City are a different beast to anyone, of course, but if you saw the runs Kun was making to drop deep, Sterling taking advantage of that, Silva making runs purely to disrupt the opposition, it was a wonderful bit of play. And if you look at I wouldn't say the majority, but if you look at a lot of their goals, you look at PSV, you look at Inter Milan's winner, you look at There's several. There's several. You look at a lot of their goals. It's come from corners or free kicks that have come into the box and they failed to deal. They failed to deal with it. I also think defensively, their fullbacks, if you run at them, you can score. We can score from wide positions, like you saw against for knockouts goal against Spurs for Brighton. Also, fail to have any chance as well. Lloris is on the decline. That if I'm saying this defense has issues, because even if you look at the Barcelona game for Albiol, when not Albiol. Alba set up the first goal when Messi played him in. Where was the fullbacks? You see what I'm saying? Take advantage of that. Sometimes as well, their centre halves and their fullbacks collectively as a line, they have issues marking what's not in front of them. They have issues dealing with movement, and many a times you see their centre halves and their fullbacks. There's gaps. Go and look at the last goal. Messi and Suarez combined it to score for against Spurs for Barcelona. There's several goals that Spurs have conceded like that. And on top of that, if I'm saying there's clearly, I wouldn't say there's communication or issues, but there's clearly some teething problems of sorts, shuffling across, filling in the gaps, tucking in. If there's an issue with that, the man behind that back 4-5 is on the decline as well. So that gives us more confidence. There's several. In fact, I'm so sure I even writ them down, people. You look at you look at Lloris for PSV away. You look at United in the first half when Spurs won, but Lloris came out and Lukaku obviously missed. You look at Barcelona when he came off his line, and I'm sure you guys have several other examples. There's clearly some miscommunication with Lloris coming off his line, or he's on the decline. We need to take advantage of that. We really need to take advantage of that. That's only going to become if we press their back line and we provoke issues. Even if you look at the goal they conceded against Liverpool, it wasn't Lloris in goal, it was Vaughan, but it came from a set piece. If you look at Ronaldo's goal, if you look at the second goal they conceded, it came from down the left-hand side. Again, Trippier was unaware that there was two men next to him. Centre halves probably not sniffing danger and getting there to mark. People not looking over their shoulder. Even if you look at when we beat them last year, we took advantage of a set piece. If you remember Socrates. So this is it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science, people. In short, we need to fight, man. It's all fun and dandy having 16, 17 games unbeaten and having this mad run. But again, like I said at the start of this vid, a lot of them games you're either expected to win. We haven't been at it. And there's several other things you could say. Yes, all that matters is we've more or less come out of that with winning. But if you look at our immediate form, what? In the last 4 Premier League games, we've got a draw against Palace, forgive me if I'm wrong. Draw against Wolves, forgive me if I'm wrong. Draw against Liverpool, forgive me if I'm wrong. There's nothing wrong with taking a draw against Liverpool. And then we've obviously beat Bournemouth, coming from a losing position. So in our last 4 games, we haven't actually quite been at it. So it doesn't really mean anything. Now we've got Spurs and then United in midweek next week. It's like I said, it's fun and dandy having unbeaten runs, saying the good times back because Unai Emery's here. It's all fun and dandy saying how the players have changed the regime and how they're embracing the new ideas. There's 6 points on the line between now Spurs and United. 6 points. We have a terrible record against the top 6. We failed every test against the top 6 at this moment of making this video. There's 6 points on the line. What would really, we're not winning no title, but what would really go down as being title aspiration hopefuls? If you claim 6 points from this, minimum 4 points. Obviously, you take 2 in the sense that a draw. We don't want to draw against Spurs and United. We can't afford to really lose more ground. But reality is, that's a good point to take from both games, especially United away. And we lost at Wembley last year to Spurs. Don't get it twisted. That's our ground more than it is theirs. We've won trophies there. I have to do it, Spurs. But yeah, it's all fun and dandy. 4 points. You need to answer the test. Tests need to be answered. 4 points minimum. If we can walk away with 4 points, then I already rate what we're doing this year, but I'll give the players even more brownie points because, again, it's all fun and dandy, unbeaten record, turning games over in the second half of games. These are the sort of games that make the difference. Obviously, you're going to look back in May of where you dropped down points. We've already cost ourselves and shot ourselves in the foot with all the draws, like I've said, and the 2 defeats at the start of the season. We're going to drop more points. So we're going to look at that. And a big reason as to why we might not get top 4 could be our record against the top 6, which so far, Liverpool, 9 points on the line. We've only taken a point, essentially, in the sense that there's Liverpool, Chelsea and City. We've lost twice, we've drawn 1. Point against Liverpool isn't so bad, and we could have won against Chelsea on another day, but the fact is we didn't. We can only deal with the facts. We're 3 points off Spurs. We beat them. I think we'll be level on goal difference, so we'll put ourselves in a fantastic position. Chelsea are breathing down us I mean, sorry, we're breathing down Chelsea and 1 point behind them. We don't want people to make ground, because if you're United, if you're Chelsea, if you're United, you're looking at, alright, cool, Spurs could do us a favour and beat Arsenal in this, and we beat them. The whole top 4 race is tipped on its head, and Jose is very much confident about getting top 4 for his team. He said so. If you're Chelsea, all right, they might lose. Arsenal might lose to Spurs, and then they've got a game against United, which statistically away from home in the Premier League recently, we've been poor there. So you'd be licking your lips. So and thinking, if we take our 4 points from our games this week, then we could be in a good position. We want to avoid that. We need to stay in and amongst the pack, to be fair with you. I would just like a convincing performance against Spurs, which, bar us winning there last year, you can't really say you've seen too tough, to be fair with you. I think Lemainer's a slept-on player as well, and if I'm Spurs, I'll play Lemainer as well. I think he's up for these sort of games, and his work goes underrated. Son, his form against Chelsea might get him a looking for Spurs. Mora, I think he'll be good running at us. And on top of Mora, we can't back off. Don't stand off, in my opinion. Dele, we've got to probably make sure that Dele doesn't mark Xhaka in the same way he did to Jorginho, but I'll speak about a couple of this in the tactical vid. Like I said, it's a decisive week for Spurs. To have any chance, we need to gamble on their miscommunication between their back 5, their collecting of crosses and their set pieces, and make the most of dead ball situations. So in regards to the lineup, I actually think a back 3 would be good, but I wouldn't go with it for this game. At this moment in time, I'll probably change, but my lineup would be Leno, Socrates, Holding, Hector Bellerin and Kola, provided Monreal is not fit. Mustafi will probably play, but I feel Holding and Socrates, they're the centre-halves that give me the most competence and the most faith in them. So I'll go with them. Hector Bellerin and Kola as the fullbacks, like I've said. I'll go Torreira, Xhaka and Guendouzi in midfield. Xhaka's going to play realistically. I feel Guendouzi, he gets forward and he's a bit indisciplined, but he's a bit more reserved than a couple midfield players. So I'd probably play him. I think we need 3 midfielders in there. And Torreira's Torreira, I don't need to explain why he plays for us. Up front, I'm going with Aubameyang, Lacazette and Mesut Ozil. I'd actually like Mesut Ozil to drop into midfield and make it a midfield 4. I'd like Lacazette to just be selfless and get on the ball and do the general play stuff. And I actually feel Aubameyang for this game, I'd actually like him on the flanks, to be fair. Because people, if I'm saying we need to isolate Spurs' fullbacks, we need to take advantage of 2v1 situations, we need to take advantage of them not being able to read movement in behind. Trippier's a fullback, so is Davis. I don't think Aubameyang should be played on the right, so on the left is where I want him to play, just for this game purely, to take advantage of that and create 2v1 situations in behind, possibly with him and Kola. Him and Kola need to be switched on defensively, especially Kola, because I've yet to see a convincing defensive performance from him. Seen great attacking ones, but you get the point. So that would be my team. So to recap, Leno, Socrates, Holding, Kola and Hector Bellerin make up the back 5. Lucas Torreira, Xhaka and Guendouzi in midfield. And as the attacking options, I'm going with Lacazette, Aubameyang and Mesut Ozil. I'm tempted to bring in Iwobi as well, to be fair with you. I can actually see Ramsey starting, but I wouldn't start Ramsey in this game personally. Well, it is what it is, man. That's it for the preview. Like I said, I'll mess around with the tactics board in another vid in regards to our incoming game against Spurs. But for now, yeah, people, we need to win, man. Like, I don't want to have to block my friends. I don't want to have to try fight them and stuff, man. This is war. This is war. Like, I can feel the war in the air, man. Like, I can really feel it, man. But for now, people, thank you for watching and rocking with myself, man. Deluded. Comment, subscribe, and do the rest if you wish. I'm out, brothers. People, Deluded. Obviously, I'm back. Arsenal versus Spurs. Now, you by now see my preview where I kind of was all over the place and spoke about everything. But we might as well speak about it from a tactical position, or what we could expect, or what I expect tactically from Spurs. So, yeah, being the original, YouTube's original tactics man and the first to do this, I might as well crack on. So, yeah, there's a lot for me to think about with Spurs. First and foremost, away from the clubs. You guys know I'm not a biased man. Now, I actually got in trouble for saying if Spurs offered me a job, I'd work for them. But away from that, I have to admire how Pochettino not only gets the best out of the players, especially when you consider he didn't get to buy no one, how they understand this system. There's only a few managers, Wenger historically, Pochettino, Maybe to a degree Chris Hughton, and I guess now you could say Eddie Howe. Only and maybe the Wolves gaffer Nuno. Only a couple, man, really and truly have got to stay at a club and really put their mark on it. And I think Pochettino's done that. They've got a lot of what you typically see in South American individuals or players or teams. Spurs have that fight, commitment, desire. That's one thing our players have to be prepared for. Spurs are going to be a bit over the top and leave stuff on us. So they're going to try and kick you about the place. Torreira's on this thing. Torreira knows exactly what I'm on about. We're going to have to respond to that. I like how Spurs not only can play several different formations. Obviously, we'll speak about some in a bit. We'll speak about the 4-2-2-2, if that even makes sense, or 4-1-2-1-2, or 4-2-3-1. They've played a bunch of formations, a couple formations, three at the back. They obviously interchange here and there in games. So I like how they're doing it. I've said in the previous vid, I feel similar to our Spurs are not enough questions are being asked with Spurs. I feel Spurs probably, I actually give Spurs more credit than us, to be fair, to a degree, at the risk of not upsetting anyone, because they've had to play, well, we've had to play top six sides, but they've passed the test against top six sides this season. They failed it twice against City and Liverpool, but they've come back against United away is a big win as well, and obviously they beat Chelsea at their place. 2 results. I would have loved for it to be Arsenal. So yeah, I've also said similar to us, but like I'm getting onto that point, similar to us, I feel when you look past certain things and you look at their individual performances in matches at times, yeah, we've played good and they've played good, but I do think papering over the crack. It's a case of papering over a couple of cracks. So I feel both sides I wouldn't say being praised, but I don't even know what I'm saying with that, innit, people. Hopefully what I'm trying to say makes sense. And I said in the previous vid, if there's one way you can score against Spurs, it's set pieces. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. But when I look at PSV, I look at the goal they conceded in the winner against Inter Milan. There's a couple of there's several. Did I even write them down? I surely must have written them down, because I was sitting there watching all of these games and the highlights. To be fair with you, even Palace they didn't lose, but Palace to a degree, set pieces and crosses. If you saw against Palace, I'd say crosses, specifically early crosses or crosses in behind, can ask questions of Spurs. Look at the goal Socrates scored last year from the set piece. There was a lack of awareness in terms of marking. If you look at the second goal we scored when Lacazette assisted whoever scored, unable to follow runners and shuffle across the line. I think that's one issue Spurs have. If you look at a lot of the goals they've conceded this year, even West Ham in the Carabao Cup when Perez scored, set pieces. It doesn't matter if it's free kicks and they're delivered into the box. Liverpool at Wembley as well. Vaughan was in goal, but set pieces and crosses, they have issues dealing with it. So that's an area we need to get at. Crosses, look at a lot of their goals they're conceding from corners. You look at PSV as well. Crosses. Now, I can only attribute that to 2 reasons. It doesn't make sense, because I feel on a general basis, Spurs have a great system and the players know their systems. But if this is Spurs' back line, this is what we've got to do. We have to, people, whip crosses in behind. Whip early crosses. Early crosses. In behind and over the top. That's what we've got to do, a variety of balls. Why? Because I think they have issues. If you look at the goal they conceded against Barcelona, the last goal they conceded against Barcelona. In fact, we'll talk about the first one firstly. How would I make this make sense? If you remember rightly, the ball came into Lionel Messi had the ball, people, right? Let's just say this is Messi. Messi had the ball. He played one lovely, green and red are teammates, yeah? He played one lovely ball into Jordi Alba, yeah? Where was the fullback? He was caught. They were able to get in behind, and eventually it fell into the back of the net with Coutinho, if I remember correctly. So that's an area we need to take advantage of. Another one, if you look at as well, the last goal Barcelona scored, they took advantage of this space. Now, there was a poor pass, but Messi and Suarez were like here. These centre-halves were too far apart. So clearly, and they obviously put it in the back of the net. One issue of Spurs is they have issues shuffling across. If this fullback is engaging, shuffle across. You typically see these centre-halves very wide apart of each other. That's an area we can take advantage of. So on top of crossing it early and taking advantage of our corners or just delivering it early or any dead ball situations, that's another one. And another one, if you look at Palace, if you look at to a degree what Wolves game, If you look at PSV, when Loris away, I think. If you look at Barcelona as well, what other games have there been? United, the victory against United at Old Trafford in the first half. Loris is having issues coming off his line, so that actually builds on to what I'm saying. If they're having, I think they communicate very well as a back five. But if I'm saying that there's normally gaps, he might get caught here and he might get caught here and things like that, there's clearly a problem with communication. Typically, you go and look at all of these games I've just listed. How many times have you seen Loris come off his line? Sometimes he's been saved, but if you look at the Barca games, his blushes, it ends in him blushing because Barca. Someone had a free net. He's obviously got sent off against someone. PSV looked like a bit of a donut, and it typically happens with Loris. So whether it's Loris declining or whatever, I'm not too sure. And another one on top of that, if these are fullbacks, we need to isolate their fullbacks 2v1. If you look at the set piece, like I said, they also conceded a set piece v Liverpool. But if you actually look at Liverpool's second goal, or if you look at Brighton's goal and things like that, when Brighton lost to them, they have, I wouldn't say they have an issue, but at times centre-halves are not looking over their shoulders. They were able to get at their fullbacks and drive in behind them or get crosses in behind, because the centre-halves aren't aware of what's going on around them and they only see when it's too late, in my humble opinion. And I also feel we need to isolate their fullbacks and create 2v1 situations down either side, people. Let me try and make this clearer for you. I think I say this because I feel that it makes no sense, because I feel they've got a good system and I feel their fullbacks are essential, but their fullbacks create gaps. And even if you look at Manchester City, they were inventing 2v1 situations. So if we keep let's keep these man as blue. So wait, yeah. Wait, 4-2-2, yeah, but yeah. Got to make sure I make it make sense, people. I drew it out on Word to make it make sense, but obviously it's not the best. But you've seen them. There's variations, and we'll speak about the variations. But you've seen a 4-2-2, yeah. You've seen them play a 4-2-2. Hopefully that makes sense. To give it a bit of context, you typically see Kane, you might see Moura, you might see Dele, you might see Eriksen, you obviously see Sissoko and Dyer. It's a good system. It is a very good system in my opinion, people. You've got two composing set midfielders who will do the lifting and break down play and distribute it. You've also got Eriksen, who's going to drop inside and make it a free. You've got Dele, who you saw a great marking job on Jorginho, but could drop in and will have the freedom to make late runs and things like that. You've obviously got Moura, who will occupy the flanks at times or come in and drive, and Kane is Kane. But one example to take advantage of this, possibly, their fullbacks are central to their positions, to their formation, for obvious reasons. Why? Because there's no width. You'll see occasionally the attackers, the front four, well, it's not really front four, but they will go into positions out wide to occupy space and disrupt the opposition. But typically, everyone wants to be on the ball. So the fullbacks are central in Davis and Dyer. We need to create 2v1 situations. We need to take advantage of this space. And this is exactly why I want Aubameyang to play on the left, because of his pace. If you look at City, if you look at Liverpool, they were creating 2v1 situations. We need Kola to be switched on defensively, but we also need to take advantage of these high fullbacks, high up the field, create 2v1 situations, get to this byline, take advantage of what I've previously said about centre-halves not being aware of what's going on around their shoulders, deliver it into the box, and put it in the back of the net, essentially. Like, it's not hard. And on the topic of Dele Alli, I've just mentioned Dele, so I might as well speak about him quickly. Dele, let's be red. I rate Dele Alli, innit? I don't think he's the most blessed technically, but it's similar to Sterling. He utilises what he has, people, innit? I rate him a lot. One thing I rate about him is his movement. And this is something both him, and we'll put a K here for Kane. Dele will be the X. We've got to be aware of, people. We really need to be aware of this, because Dele Alli's movement is superb. Now, this will be our, you know what, this is our keeper, yeah? This is one run that we need to be aware of In fact, I haven't even done it properly. There's a certain run that Dele Alli makes. Let's say my man's Eriksen, another X is Eriksen. And this is why it's important we hold our line and we don't get caught dragging out of position, and we hold this shape. This back four needs to remain together, especially the centre-halves. Dele Alli, Eriksen will play lovely balls into either channel, but every now and again, he'll try a ball over the top. Dele Alli is amazing because he'll make the run. He'll make the run ahead of a striker. We've seen, this is why we can't afford to get in a foot race at times, because you've seen it with Sergio. He makes Sergio Aguero in the final last year in the Carabao. He makes lovely runs. We have typically a high line, so we need to be very much switched on. This ball, Eriksen normally plays that ball in behind or ahead, and Dele's made that run. How many times have you seen that and he ends up heading it into the back of the net? We need to be very aware of that, in my opinion. And away from that, we'll focus on Harry Kane. Harry Kane, it's more, I think it's more or less destiny he scores. Like, Kane scoring against Arsenal is something that's always going to happen, in my opinion now. But Kane's runs as well. Kane's runs. Now, there's several runs Kane makes, yeah. This is one I love as well. He'll wait till these, obviously, we get a bit disrupted. Wait. Let me stop being lazy and draw it for you. In an attacking phase, or at some phase in the game as we're trying to get a foothold or whatever, you might typically see this. You might see us slightly out of position. Using my hands for you guys. I think Kane is very good. This is Kane, the red one, at getting on the wrong side of a centre-half. You want him goal side, well, that is goal side, but depending on where you want him. He's very good at getting on the sides or intimidating strikers. You don't see him until it's too late. He's very good at actually pulling out wide for himself. Obviously, he's good at dropping deep. He's good at making runs in behind. He'll work the channels. We need to really watch Harry Kane. Typically, you see him come alive when it's too late in areas like this, near our own goal area, near our own line. And even if I just look at, in fact, he did it last year against Arsenal. But one thing I really liked about him, and we can't let ourselves be fooled by it. This is our back line. Let me do blue ones. So yeah, typically in a back line, if you're a striker, if you're Harry Kane, you typically be here. You're a striker. That's where, sorry people, that's where you need to be. You need to be in a striking position, people, right? But what's going to happen in a big game like against Chelsea, like you saw against Chelsea? He's going to be heavily marked. Heavily marked. Two men are going to be on him and fullbacks are going to tuck in. So what did Kane do? Kane thought, okay, cool. You lot are going to mark me. You lot have briefed me. I'm going to flip it on its head. I'm going to occupy positions like here or like here, where I might not necessarily get the ball. The ball's not going to come to me, and I'm not necessarily in areas I can score from. But if I come out here, what's going to happen, people? He's going to need to come with him, because he might have been told, strike the centre-half, man, mark him. Or the fullback's going to have a decision to make. Either way, Kane's already affected the game. Why? Because if you imagine that this centre-half's made a decision and thought, ah, cool, Kane's moved now. Let me get closer to him so I've marked him, so I can mark him. You see a gap. You might not be able to see it, I ain't drawed it, but you now see a gap, right? And then you saw Son take advantage of that. You saw Dele take advantage of this space that's left. Kane will drag people with him. He will drag people. Dele will do the same, and Son will do the same. And what you saw, you would constantly see them all rotate the front forward position. So at one time, someone would be deep, someone would be out wide. And the space that is left was exploited. Blindside. You see why people hold in shape. Our back four have to hold shape, because even if there's several concerning things, even if we look at the Brighton game. Several things. If we just relate it to a back three again, because it was Brighton. The first thing, and I really want to exaggerate, yeah? High line. First and foremost, we play a high line because we want to get onto the ball and things. Cool, not a problem. But no disrespect to Bournemouth players, but Kane and them man there are better than what they had. But one thing I liked what Bournemouth did, they got men at us. They got men at our centre-halves. They had Wilson, King, Brook. Oh, God, this is a nightmare. Brooks people was obviously coming off the flanks and coming inside and making it a free. They were getting out. They were getting at us. Why this is scary? Because none of our centre halves, Socrates is quicker than people give him credit for, but none of our centre halves are necessarily quick. If you're Kane or you're Dele or definitely Son or Mora, you'd fancy yourself in a foot race versus our centre halves. So we need to probably drop off a couple of yards our defence. Concede that we're playing these men on side, not get into a foot race. Again, like you saw against Manchester City in the final last year. Don't get in a foot race. And what concerned me a bit more is, I need to make it a bit clearer for you. Again, why holding shape is so important. And all our centre-halves were guilty of this in the game for me, people, anyways. They all want to get... It doesn't matter if they want to get tight to an opposition player. That's cool. If they want to get tight and aggressive and dive in, that's cool. But if think about it, people, if he's dived in now and we remove this and the arrow represents where he is, what do you see here, people? It's not football's not rocket science. You saw 3 X's, you see 2 now. So that symbolises what? There's no space. There's a space left. To which, like I told you in the previous example, if Dele and Son are playing smart and this is Kane, space to exploit. Foot race. You want to get you fancy soccer artist Mustafi and then man there in a foot race with certain players? I didn't think so. So holding shape is vital, people. I saw us getting pulled out of position. I saw centre halves wanting to be ball players. Fullbacks were obviously going up the field. So Holding sadly is getting into a foot race out here or getting dragged out wide. Any winger fancies Holding in a position like that. Look at Adama Traore against Wolves. These are things, football is not rocket science. We need to pay serious attention to. And the final point that I was going to make as well, people, as well. For all that I've praised Dele Alli about his attacking exploits and things like that, there's one thing he did against Chelsea, which obviously Jorginho played rubbish and Son skinned him and things like that. Won't be spoken about. But one thing Dele Alli did, which was amazing in my opinion. Let's use it to symbolise Jorginho. Let's say this is Jorginho, yeah, people. I've drawn it terrible. But if we say this is Jorginho, similar to Xhaka, Jorginho's strengths are to get onto the ball and to try and play progressive football and get us moving forward into a game and progressing passes. Obviously, Jorginho and Xhaka are slightly different, but slightly the same in that regards, people, yeah? So by that logic, if this is your back four and this is your deep-lying midfielder in Jorginho, getting onto the ball, for him to get I'm not going to draw it, but to get your other players onto the ball, he needs to obviously receive it off someone, right? So logically, if he's central to their play and him getting it could be the difference in Hazard getting the ball and running in behind, what do you do to neutralise that threat? You get someone to man mark, which was Dele Alli. And he completely ate him. He weren't going nowhere. He couldn't pass the ball forward. Because of that, obviously, Kante was up here and Kovacic was being marked out the game essentially as well. Obviously, because he can't get onto the ball, he can't do anything. He can't play progressive football to hit Hazard and hit Willian and hit all of them lot. He can go sideways, he can go backwards, to which Spurs are cool because if he goes backwards and sideways, Spurs have got men back. Again, I'm going off topic with these examples, but if you're going back, Spurs have defenders. Going back allows them to stay into their position and allows them to stay intact positionally. And I think Spurs, give credit to Spurs because they completely outclassed Chelsea. But these are things you've got to be careful of. So essentially, if Xhaka gets Xhaka, I'm scared for Xhaka. Like, I like Xhaka, but I'm scared for Torreira because I only see one fighter in that midfield, and I'm scared for Xhaka because if I'm Spurs, that's the man I'm targeting. You want to make him defend because he can't turn. He's improved, but he can't turn. If you're Dele or if you're Spurs, you want to do the same thing you did against Jorginho to him. To be fair with you. We need to take advantage of Spurs' high line of set pieces, of possible miscommunication between Lloris. I think their fullbacks, if we create 2v1 situations, like I've said, could be got at. There's several things. Again, if I'm Spurs as well, I'd actually play Lemina. I think Lemina is I don't know how you get him in the side, but I think he's an underrated player, and I think he'd definitely stand up to be counted against Arsenal. So yeah, like I don't have much more to add, to be fair, man. We need to stop giving away. I've already said Spurs give space away down the flanks. We've already talked about crosses, communication. I've already given you the example about the goals, spoken about the form. we've spoken about no, we actually haven't spoken about their formation. Well, we did speak vaguely about their formation. One thing as well I love about them, we'll speak about this one lastly. I think I must have spoken about this, people. I rate their formation, man. Like you said, their fullbacks are good. They've got Kane, they've got Mora or Son, they've got Dele, you've got Dyer, you've got Sissoko and Eriksen. Now, typically, it would change a bit at times because you could see possibly Sissoko sit here. If Sissoko was to come here, people, then it would look more like this. Obviously, you'd have what you saw more on Chelsea against Chelsea was Sissoko and Dyer, and Eriksen was there, and Eriksen would drop in at times and make it a free. Obviously, you had Dele, Son, and Kane. Don't know why I did that. I think Dele had done a great job of running ahead of his man and also mucking in to congest the midfield, which I think they'll do. I think Kane, like I said, he worked the channels well. He dropped. He made runs in behind similar to Dele. And you saw Son down that right-hand side on the counter-attack. That is something we need to pay attention to. We got counter-attacked all afternoon with Davy Brooks and their man there against Bournemouth. A goal came down. Literally, a goal all came from our left back not being in position against Bournemouth. Not just him, it was a whole problem. So we need to take advantage. There were so many men that could have stopped Son against when Jorginho got ripped. So it was terrible. But these things are not rocket science. These are glimpses. We have issues defensively, and so did they, in my opinion, from wide areas as well. So it makes for a fantastic contest, man. I want to win. I really do. I must admit to you people, my gut tells me Arsenal lose, to be honest. But I'm gonna go with Arsenal 2-1. Fuck the gut. It's Arsenal versus Spurs. Fuck any sort of logic, people. It's all about pride and everything's there. But for now, I don't think I've got anything else to say, man. I think I'm really overdoing it. If I'm them, I'd actually play Son because his form has actually made the difference. But I think Mora is very good, man. Mora drops in. If it's Mora, he drops in. If this is we're all gonna have to be black for a sec, people. Black arrows. If this is Mora, I think he does very well running out of defence, especially when they back off, something Arsenal keep doing. So there's a lot of options and a lot of things that concern me from a Spurs perspective, but we'll see what happens in the game, man. Obviously, it's a decisive week. It would be a lovely couple of weeks if we were to beat Spurs now and in the Carabao Cup, and obviously beat United at Old Trafford, man. But seeing is believing. It's down to us to show commitment. This unbeaten run that we've been on, it means nothing if you now go and lose to Spurs and United. It's a big chance. Spurs want to end us. Spurs want to end it. If you're a Spurs player or a Spurs fan, Arsenal have been unbeaten. What other club would want to end it more? Kane has the biggest carrot. If I'm Kane, you want to ruin us, essentially. You want to ruin us. You want to end it. You want to continue your good goal scoring form. What he's got 7 in the last 8 against Arsenal. I think he's 5th on the list in level with Van Persie in terms of goals in London derbies. I don't know what they class as London derbies. That could be Arsenal versus Palace, for God's sake, or Spurs versus Palace, for God's sake. But either way, that's a fantastic thing to have. So Kane, the ex-Arsenal fan, now Spurs player, he wants to do it. He wants to do it. Kane is someone I'm shook of as well. I see Kane scoring. I see Dele being a see you next Tuesday in the game. But it is what it is, man. People, I've got nothing more to add. Deluded. Comment, subscribe, and do the rest if you wish. I'm out.